Spring is here, and it's time to trade in those winter coats for shorts, t-shirts, and possibly an umbrella. But before you head outside to celebrate, there are plenty of gaming options to make you reconsider. Whether you're looking for new twists on old favorites, a blast from the past, or cultural meaning from the games you play, there's at least something for everyone in April 2024. Sniping has taken a backseat to run-and-gun shooters in the Call of Duty era. If you're not a fan of the Sniper franchise, there hasn't been much else. That changes with Children of the Sun. This isn't your typical sneak around, find a line of sight, and then deliver the killing blow sniper game. This one plays more like a puzzle game, as you try to line up targets for some rebound action. You play as a one-woman army who is looking to exact revenge on a dangerous cult. Not only does it play differently, the motivation to keep delivering those kill shots is coming from an entirely different angle. Moon Studios is best known for its gorgeous 2D action RPG franchise, Ori. Whether you're traipsing through a blind forest or following the will of the wisp, its whimsical setting and challenging gameplay provide a nice contrast to one another. But only the latter really applies with its brand new action RPG, No Rest for the Wicked. Set in the year 841, the king is dead, and the new king is an evil moron. Making matters worse, a plague has shown up, and as a holy warrior, it's your job to investigate the outbreak. You play from an isometric perspective, and the challenge is stiff, but special armor can turn the tide by buffing the offensive arsenal. It's a top-down Dark Souls-like from skilled developers, and we simply haven't seen much of those yet. You have to be approaching middle age to remember a legendary RPG franchise called Suikoden. Like so many other franchises, Konami has essentially abandoned it, forcing its former developers to do their own thing. Enter Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This JRPG was under development by the lead creator of Suikoden, Yoshitaka Moriyama. He recently passed away, and will not see the game released, but his fingerprints are already all over it. You play as a young leader who must raise an army of 100 warriors to take on an evil empire that's using powerful artifacts to impose its will. It's yet another in the long line of Kickstarter darlings, and we're seriously rooting for some posthumous success with this one. So many video games are released these days, yet it's hard to think of many that take real-world culture seriously. Tales of Kenzera Zhao is bucking that trend. This Metroidvania is based on folklore from a South African tribal group called the Bantu. It also touchingly reflects on the death of the lead developer's father. While all this emotional and cultural heft could carry a game all on its own, this 2.5D action adventure is very similar to the recently released Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Playing on a 2D plane with 3D flourishes, it jumps between the two perspectives. It features equal parts traversal and combat as you try to navigate the ravages of grief. From the sentimental days of the arcade era, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been a prominent part of the video game zeitgeist. While one could argue that no publisher has ever really placed a big budget behind the IP, it's survived based on smaller games that would be right at home in those musty, dusty arcades from the 80s. The same holds true for Wrath of the Mutants. This cooperative beat-em-up was also birthed in the arcades back in 2017, and now it's coming into our homes with 3 completely new stages and 6 new boss battles. If you've played any of these games in the past, then you know it's hard for them to be cowabungled. Suikoden isn't the only JRPG franchise that's being revived this month. Square Enix's Saga series is receiving a far more literal resurrection. Saga Emerald Beyond is the first entry in almost 8 years and takes you on a quest through 17 different worlds based on the 6 different characters in your party. It's not about you. It's about accomplishing major life milestones for those closest to you. But don't feel like you're just being used. You're still in control, and there are some extremely tough decisions to make as you manipulate time, share resources, and use party formations strategically. While making the tough calls definitely puts you on the spot, it will also encourage multiple playthroughs of this turn-based RPG. It's now been almost 8 years since Civilization VI was released, and the expansions are finally starting to dry up. While we wait for Civ 7, fans of 4X strategy games and city builders are left in a lurch. Manor Lords is the next in line to fill that risk-sized void, as it challenges you to take over 14th century Europe. Medieval life isn't all wenches and mugs of mead. There's some serious work to be done, and this game does lean more towards the building mechanics and social/economic/trading simulation and less towards militaristic conquest. At the same time, the elaborate presentation adds a new layer of representation to brutal medieval war. We've actually lost two icons of Japanese pop culture over the last couple months. Akira Toriyama, who created Dragon Ball, also recently passed away, but not before one of his other popular manga and anime brands becomes a video game. Sandland was a popular manga over 2 decades ago, and now it's been turned into an open-world action adventure where vehicles drive, haha, the experience. In this game's world, water is the ultimate resource. Humans and demons are warring over it, so a trio of allies set out to find the legendary spring hidden somewhere in the desert wasteland. You play as Beelzebub, who must lead his army through the drifts in hopes of a much better future for his people. Stellar Blade is a throwback to action video games from the early 2000s, where every woman had a heaving chest, a perfect butt, and not much material covering either. While some players are happy video games have moved away from these tropes, some are not. Stellar Blade is for them. This hack-and-slash sci-fi action RPG takes place on a post-apocalyptic Earth, overrun by terrible creatures and women with double Ds. While the setting, story, and characters are mindlessly vapid, the combat is anything but, featuring a potent mix of classic Dark Souls blocks, rolls, and parries. Each enemy you encounter is entirely capable of ripping those skin-tight leotards and perfect bodies to shreds. With a hard, mature ESRB rating for both sex and violence, this tribute to the early aughts doesn't pull any punches and is not for the young. One thing that's bothered us about video game development becoming so expensive is that smaller niche genres are rarely released anymore. This trickles down to some sports as well, like tennis. 20 years ago, franchises like Mario Tennis, Virtua Tennis, Smash Court, Hard Hitter, and yes, Top Spin were released on almost an annual basis. Now, you can't find a single quality tennis game on the new consoles. Hopefully that changes with Top Spin 2K25, the first entry in Sega's tennis franchise in 13 years. And it's not double faulting on its development budget. It features 24 real licensed players, including Roger Federer, Serena Williams, John McEnroe, Andre Agassi, and so many more. It also includes a slew of real-life tennis tournaments on a variety of different court types. Finally, we could have a real ace on Generation 9 consoles. Thanks for checking out our rundown of all the games that should be on your radar for April 2024. If you like our content, please consider heading to patreon.com/sifted and give us a pledge. For just $4 a month, you get all our content at least 3 days early. If you can't afford to help, you can still give this video a like and be sure to subscribe. And most of all, head to sifted.net, where it's our goal to help you discover your next favorite video game. We'll see you again in May.
No!
Eve! Get out of here!
Dossier!